Hello, this is old Mr. Kent of Mrkent'S, and I want to pause this video right here and apologize because of one of the foolish stories that I told, and had some dear friends that didn't think it was so funny. As my wife often tells me about my practical jokes, only one person laughs, and it's the wrong person to be laughing. And that's what I did in the first publishing of this video. I've removed that, and I'll tell a different story now about how foolish I have been and still am. And I want to thank Steve, a very dear friend of mine, for pointing out my error in laughing about such a poor judgment of me in the old days when I was in high school. So thank you, Steve. Thank you, other listeners and viewers who didn't think it was so funny of a practical joke. All right, so we've got a new story to tell, and it's about how foolish I have been and still am, and I thank you for the help that I get from my friends here on YouTube. So let's get on with the video and a new story to go with this video. Hello, this is old Mr. Kent of Mrkent'S, and there's something mysterious going on here. There's my wife in the upper left corner trying to see what's behind that mystery door, and she's not allowed to go in there and see what it is. I've mentioned in previous videos she was able to paint the trim around the door, but it's a mystery door. And there comes my granddaughter and her husband out of my son's shop. My son is very, very talented, and so he's building something that's going to end up going into that mystery room. All right, so new story about how foolish I have been and how foolish I still am. But we'll start when I was in high school. I've been telling stories about when I was in high school and some of the foolish things, or not foolish things, but kind of the rascal type guy I was. So let's begin with one of my mom and dad had a 1956 Pontiac two-door hardtop. And this was back in, before 1960, or just in that area. So it was fairly new. And my dad had to work, but my mom wanted to go see her brother. We lived in Seattle, and she wanted to go see her brother in Idaho. And I think it was Napa, Idaho. And so we loaded up the car. It was me, my mom, my Aunt Chloe, probably my Aunt Janice, and I don't know, brothers and sisters. But anyway, so we left real early in the morning, and back in those days, believe it or not, there was no speed limit on the highways going across country in Idaho. And so, and I knew that, and I was young. I had just gotten my license, of course. And so since my dad wasn't going, my mom asked me to drive, which was fine with me as a teenager. So we got started, and we went over the Snoqualmie Pass, because we lived in Seattle, and then we headed east across Washington, and when we got into Idaho, by that time, everybody who had gotten up real early was sleeping in the car. My Aunt Chloe was in the back seat, and I don't remember who was in the front seat. But she was sleeping, and everybody else was sleeping, and we got into Idaho, and I thought, I wonder how fast this car will go. Teenager. And so I kept increasing speed gradually, and it was a long, straight road, and I kept increasing speed, and I got up to 100 miles an hour, and I thought, that's probably fast enough. So we're going along at 100 miles an hour, And all of a sudden, my Aunt Chloe, who was sleeping, had woken up, and she saw the speedometer, and she screamed. Not a very wise thing to do, but that's what she did. When she screamed, it scared me. And when I got scared, I jumped, and we just almost lost control of the car. But I was able to manage we were going back and forth across the road, and I was able to get it slowed down and within the speed limit. And by that time, everybody in the car was awake. And so my mom scolded me and made sure that I never did anything like that again. Well, as it turned out, I was driving that same car with some of my buddies, and I don't know why we borrowed my parents' car. That's when I had my 51 Plymouth. But anyway, so me and two very good friends, we were going somewhere, and I think the road was 188th South in the Seattle area, and that's near the Seattle-Tacoma Airport. And we had to go from Military Road over to Highway 99. And so Highway 99 back then was the main highway, north and south, through the West Coast. And so we were goofing around, and I said, let's see how fast we can go, because I knew we had a couple of miles to go. And so we got up to 100 miles an hour. It took a little while to get there. And as we got up to 100 miles an hour, I was feeling pretty good because I had already driven this car that fast before. But the stop light at Highway 99 was coming up rapidly. And so I didn't panic, but I put the brakes on and started slowing us down. And I remember being about maybe a city block and a half or so from the stoplight, and the brakes were overheating because I put them on at going 100 miles an hour. They heat up rapidly. And they were overheating, and so it wasn't slowing down like I expected it to, and we were coming up rapidly. I remember looking at the speedometer, and we were still going about 70 miles an hour, and we didn't have that far to go before we were about to cross the highway. The light was still red. I didn't have any option except to keep pushing on the brakes as hard as I could. Of course, it had power brakes, and so I don't know. I think the Lord was probably sending angels down to help me because it didn't look like I was going to stop. But as it turned out, we rolled across the stop line, and we rolled out into the freeway or highway. It wasn't a freeway back then, and just in inches missed a logging truck that was going like 50 miles an hour from left to right, so he was in the outside lane, and we got stopped just in time. Another story.
It's a little short, sir.
What was that? Well, just push on that a little bit with your foot there. That's right. Anyway, another story of my foolishness, and once again, I want to apologize. It's such a blessing to me to have friends who straighten me out, like the Bible says to do, when I've done something wrong. So, anyway, I don't know what he's making there, but that's going to go through the door of the mystery room. Maybe he's going to put wheels on it and roll it around. Maybe he's just going to put something heavy on it in there, because it is an extension from his shop. And I don't know what he's going to do with it. But I want to thank you for putting up with me and watching my videos. And God bless.